Well, she made a name for herself when she correctly forecast the problems at Citigroup. Now analyst Meredith Whitney is zeroing in on the problems plaguing the states. She is in the loop right now with me. And Meredith, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. But let me just start off because I know you don't cover AIG, but this news is huge and obviously is going to affect the financial system as when the Treasury starts to, of course, unload those shares in AIG. What's your reaction to what you heard?
It seems like, I guess it's good news, but it's more moving the DEX shares. We knew this was going to happen. You knew the dilution was coming. The same thing happened with Citi several months ago. And I don't think that it's of epic proportions. People are making huge, maybe it's a slow news day, but people are making huge news of it across the board. It's a step in the right direction, I guess, but it's not new news.
No, it's not new news. It is a step in the right direction. I mean, the government getting out of these companies, and as you mentioned with Citigroup as well. I mean, so far, would you say that the government's handling it pretty well?
I think the government has should take its opportunities now while asset values are still holding in. Okay. And capture gains now, which they have for the last 12 months, or at least 8 months. So they should lock in profits, as any smart investor would.
Right. Lock in finally, maybe perhaps acting like a smart investor then. But no huge impact on the markets, though.
I could be totally. It's a non-plus event for me, but maybe it's a big deal for someone else. I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's talk about this report, the tragedy of the commons. I know it's been making a lot of headlines. To be fair, we've heard a lot about these states are in fiscal problems. They've got to raid their pension funds. But you came out with this report. You use your own metrics to rate them. In your report, you said California was the worst. And I know a lot of people have seen California as being pretty bad. But overall, I mean, why did you
say California was the worst? We rate 5 states negative, and California is one of them. California just has bigger budget gaps, and it's already rated pension funds, so its problems are just bigger, and it's also much more exposed to the housing market than any other state. So any problem,
that wouldn't be the worst?
Just by sheer magnitude, it's the worst. But there are a lot of states that have done equally precarious, equally dangerous moves to secure current payments. Why this was, yes, people have talked about it, but when people talk about it, they don't have any tangible numbers. They throw around a lot of different numbers. It's not their fault. It's that the data available is so murky, is so untransparent, and the complacency is so abundant. So people think, the federal government will bail these states out. Well, I don't think that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that easy. So why is someone in Nebraska going to bail someone in California out? Or, when there's certain states who have behaved very well through this crisis, Texas being one of them, Virginia being another one, that have done, and there are a lot of states that have done okay. And we just focus on the top 15 states first because we had to get this thing out 600 pages as is, and so we left a lot of stuff.
It took you 2 years.
It took me 2 years, and it's just an exhaustive amount of research. There's nothing out there like it, which is shocking to me because this is close to a $3 trillion market with respect to municipal finances. But of course, everyone can relate to it because they're going to get the bill for taxpayer dollars. Legally, taxpayers are required to make up for any shortfall in pension funds.
Right.
And legally, everyone's going to be required to pay higher taxes because that's where we're going.
But some say, though, those who have come out, on this report and have criticized it have said that, look, I mean, you're not counting in, though, the fact that these states have broad taxing authority, for instance.
Yes, we are.
Banks don't.
No, we absolutely are. So anyone who's criticizing it hasn't seen, first of all, only our clients have seen the report.
Right.
So anyone who's criticizing it doesn't really know what to criticize.
Right.
So we've gone through balance sheet analysis. We've gone through economic analysis. We've gone through housing analysis. We've gone through taxing optionality. So that played into our ratings. Florida is sitting on a very problematic housing issue, second to California. And Florida has the highest foreclosure inventory of anyone. And its revenues have collapsed. And the expenses have grown dramatically. Well, Florida has an ability to implement an income tax. So that factors in. So to say we haven't factored stuff in is just nuts.
But that's why you say that you don't see a servicing problem with the states. But you see a debt servicing problem with the municipalities.
Right. So the way the flow works, and so specifically, while it may seem crazy for Florida to implement an income tax, it seemed crazy for New Jersey to implement an income tax in the 70s, or Connecticut to implement an income tax in the 80s, and Washington State is talking about implementing an income tax now. So everything has been on the table and is on the table. And I'm not saying for Florida it's an imminent issue that they're going to implement an income tax, but it's, we rate Florida, a neutral negative because they have that option. And so you were saying, sorry, what was your question?
The debt servicing of the states versus
so the debt servicing of the states is going to be secured by an ability to flexibly move around your tax structure.
Okay.
What will happen is a third of local municipal funding comes from the states. So when the states get into trouble, they are going to protect the state, and
take away from the
municipalities.
Okay.
That support certainly will be compromised.
Okay, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I want to make sure I get these in. Okay, how soon of a bailout do you expect, if there is one, from the federal government?
I think over the next 12 months. There has to be.
Over the next 12 months.
But I don't know that that's politically viable. I think that it's going to be an incredibly divisive issue. So our next report, one thing that we didn't include because this was just so massive, is optionality for the states, looking at what assets the states can sell. Do certain states do leaseback proposals? I mean, you do what you can. Do certain states move from public to private, sell airports, so toll roads? Okay. So we have that analysis too. We just did,
Meredith, quickly.
I thought 600 pages was enough for this one.
All right, we could probably talk on and on about that. Quickly, in the banking sector, is there a ticking time bomb there? Which one would it be?
I think that the banks, by and large, have, the big banks anyway, recapitalized themselves. I think that they're going to be under pressure from a lot of things housing related. Okay. And I'll leave it at that. But the regional banks, if you're a bank in Florida, you're going to have an incredibly tough time. If you're a bank in Texas, you should do really well. If you're a bank, this is why we did this analysis,
right.
Because
it's all related.
It's all related. Yeah. The states will outperform. You'll have weaknesses and strengths varying by state.
Okay, Meredith, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Meredith Whitney of Meredith Whitney Advisory Group, talking about her report, The Tragedy of the Commons.